There's a common misconception among the Dune fans that sandworms are native to Arrakis, that they survived this icy meteor strike and became the part of this whole Arrakis ecosystem. But that idea actually contradicts what Frank Herbert wrote in the original canon. So, in this video, we are going to break down where this misconception comes from, debunk it, and look at the real origins of the sandworms based on the actual source material written by Frank Herbert himself. So, stay tuned and welcome back to Sand and Shadows. Let's start with the version most people have heard that there's a popular story that millions of years ago, Arrakis was a water rich planet. That bit is true. Then a catastrophic event, usually described as a comet strike, wiped out the oceans and most life. In this version, only one organism survived, a small burrowing sandworm. With no predators left, it slowly evolved over millions of years, trapped the water inside, and became what we know as the Shai-Hulud, the giant sandworm. It sounds convincing, it sounds scientific, and that's why many of us actually believe it. But here's the truth, this version does not come from the main Dune novels. This comes from the Dune Encyclopedia, edited by Willis E. McNally, if I'm not pronouncing it wrong. A friend of Frank Herbert's, it was presented as this in-universe scholarly work and even marketed as an official companion at that time. But that is actually not written by Frank Herbert. In the year 1999, Brian Herbert, alongside with Kevin J. Anderson, officially stated that the Dune Encyclopedia represents an alternate Dune universe, not the canon created by Frank Herbert. Now, this is very important because the book itself was published in year 1984 and felt very official. It came out between the main novels, was released by the same publisher, and even had a foreword written by Frank Herbert. He called it fascinating and approved it as a companion piece. But here's the key difference. It was never meant to be definitive canon. The encyclopedia was written in an in-universe scholarly text, meaning that even within the story, it admits that its sources can be biased or incomplete. It presents interpretations, not confirmed facts, and despite approving it, Frank Herbert never actually used it while writing his own novels. So while it introduced the ideas like the comet impact and the single surviving worm evolution, those concepts don't override what the original books show. And in this canon novel, the origin of the sandworm is completely different. Now that we know this version is not fully canon, Frank Herbert's later books, especially Children of Dune, contradicts this version completely. In actual canon, Arrakis didn't become a desert because of a comet. It became a desert because of an invasive species that was alien, the sand trout. These small, flat organisms were introduced to a wet Arrakis from somewhere else, and they did one thing obsessively. They sealed away the water, every drop they found. They trapped it beneath the surface. Over time, this process drained the planet. Oceans vanished, and the surfaces dried out, and the entire ecosystem transformed. And those sand trouts, they eventually matured and became the sandworm, the Shai-Hulud. So the worms didn't evolve from a lone survivor after a disaster. They created the desert themselves. And that is the key difference. In one version, it's about survival and evolution. In the canon version, it's about ecological takeover, an invasion by an invasive species reshaping the entire planet. And that ties directly into Dune's core theme, how fragile ecosystems are and how only one species can change everything. Because without sandworms, nothing in Dune works. No worm, no spice. No spice means no space travel. No space travel means no empire, and everything depends on them. And here is something the movies barely explained. How do people even breathe on Arrakis? Where does the oxygen come from? The answer is deeply connected to the sandworms themselves. I'll break it down in the next video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it.